The Adirondack chair is the perfect centerpiece to that summertime do-nothing excursion. The basic design's been around for over 100 years and originally was for use in the Adirondack mountain region in upstate New York. It didn't have a curved back or a contoured seat. Those features were added later in 1938. Early on in the research for this project, I realized I needed to understand the whys and hows of the Adirondack chair. Oftentimes, I don't use woodworking plans to build projects because I find they prevent me from answering just those questions. You get into the habit of just looking at a piece of paper to find your next measurement instead of asking the bigger questions, such as, well, does it matter how long I cut the seat frames? And if so, then why? The answer to the first part of that question, by the way, is a little bit. The shorter you cut the seat frame, the further up you're going to want to place the front leg. If you don't, the chair is going to be front heavy and it'll have a tendency to tip forward on you as you get in and out of it. As we go along in this project, I'll point out some of the measurements that I found to be more crucial than others. The first thing I want to do is create some templates. I'm using some scrap ply to rip two 5.5-inch pieces. One will be used to shape the armrest, the other for the seat frame. Now, you don't have to use templates from scrap wood. You could cut and shape the armrest and seat frame from the material that you're using and then use that piece to shape the second one. The process would be exactly the same. I'm using an old school technique of drawing a 1-inch grid on the blank. Then I'll draw the contours of the pieces. Doing it this way allows me to see the awfulness before I cut it into something that I don't like. And there are my two blanks. One thing about cutting with a jigsaw is that the blades have a tendency to deflect. A few good ways to avoid that is, one, use a good quality blade and the right one for the material you're cutting through. Two, use the right setting for what you're trying to do. The different settings on a jigsaw determine how aggressive that cut will be. The more aggressive, the faster you can cut. But that also means a sloppier cut. A less aggressive setting means more accuracy, but you need to take it slower. Oftentimes people get impatient and try to push too fast through the cut, and that is when you get blade deflection. So if you're uncertain, cut further off your line to sand down later. A few things I'd like to point out on the seat frame. I tried to cut down on some of the bulkiness of the profile by eliminating material where I thought it wouldn't compromise the strength of the chair. Here, and then by tapering this top portion. Also, this cut here is what determines the angle the seat will be. So now I have both templates cut and shaped how I want. I'll mark and cut those pieces to rough length on the miter saw. Place the template on top of the piece I just cut and trace the lines. Remove the template and it's back to the jigsaw. I'll stick the template back on top of the workpiece and route the final shape with a flush trim bit. After repeating the process for all 4 pieces, 2 armrests and 2 seat frames, I'll move on to the seat slats. Mine are 19 inches, so I'll set up a stop block and make my cuts. I'll cut 6 pieces of 1x4 material on the miter saw. Then I'll rip those in half on the table saw. If my math is correct, that will give me 12 seat slats. But with how they teach math in the United States today, I'm seriously questioning myself. I'll take those seat slats over to the router, and with a roundover bit, smooth over the edges. The cutting and shaping of all the parts is what took the longest, but I figured if I took my time and did a good job here, things were going to go smoother later in the project. For part 2 of this video, you can click right over here. Visit me at simplyeasydiy.com. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Pinterest. Until then.